Welcome into Major League Sorare. It's your guys Tripping and DraftKicks, aka CryptoKicks, depending on what platform you're on. When you're on Sorare or CryptoKicks, when you're on Twitter, you're on your DraftKicks. What's up, Schuyler? How you doing, man?
What's up, man? Good. Ready for the games to start. Let's get the season going.
Yeah, we are. As of the time of this recording, I believe we're 16 days away. So I'm going to call that 2 weeks, and we could very well be doing. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be doing a preview episode of Week 1 and giving you the guys you want to buy for Week 1 and things like that. Although we'll be talking about that more even now today, because the theme of today's show is under the radar forwards. We're going to be talking about forwards. You've identified a few guys you want to talk about. We're going to name some names. We're going to drop some prices, and then we're going to talk about friendlies. I want to have a little bit more of an abstract conversation about what we can learn from these MLS friendlies that have been going on, anything you've picked up by seeing like who starts where or certain lineup combinations, or should we just ignore them altogether? That's certainly a choice as well. And we'll get to a little bit of your feedback, viewer questions as well, and listener questions. And thanks everyone who's been viewing the videos on YouTube on Sorare TV. It's a great initiative that we've all been working together. There's lots of content creators on there coming together in one group. And we've been happy to be a part of it so far, and we're Major League Sorare, man. That's what we do. We're having a lot of fun. It's almost MLS season. The buzz is real.
Oh yeah. I'm starting to get excited. I'm actually doing a lot of work right now directly with Major League Soccer for their fantasy game.
Humble brag.
And so their gaming products. Yeah, it's busy season, man. It's a grind. It's a slog, but it's all part of the fun.
Did you tell them they should change the name of the game away from FMLS? I was like FMLS, you know.
Honestly, I think that was just something that the fantasy community deemed it. Like MLS has never called it or gone by FMLS. I think that was kind of a carryover too from the FPL term.
Right.
But no, as far as I know, MLS has never championed FMLS. I think that's just purely a community thing. Right, yeah. Probably rightfully so, the way that it comes out. So,
well, it's a very colorful edition of the show. I'm repping my Charlotte SC
pretty jazzy
Pride Month training jersey. I like the yellow flannel you've got going there. We're feeling very rugged today. And why don't you tell us about some of these forwards? I asked you to put a top 5 list together of like underrated forwards. Any stream out there or show or whatever can give you the studs. We all know who the studs in MLS are. Like you go get your Driussis and your Savarinos and whatnot, but your Swiderskis maybe. But who are the guys that can be picked up for cheap? You may have already picked up a couple of them, Schuyler, and we want to know what's the deal with some of these guys up top who can get you points for cheap bucks and maybe win you a prize.
I really wanted to list Christian Benteke on my under the radar forwards because he gave me so much crap about picking him up early on.
Well, he may come up later in the friendlies discussion, but yes, for sure.
Yeah, and I think his preseason performance has seen his price starting to trend up. People are starting to take notice, and I don't think it's going to be the same DC team that we saw last year. I do think he's going to be scoring goals. I think that he might be putting his name in the gold boot race. I call it a hot take, but I like Benteke a lot. I've got a few shares of him, limited, rare, and a super rare. But I don't think that he can be considered an under-the-radar forward. So I do, however, think that Fafa Picault from Nashville, he's a guy that's kind of bounced around the league. He was in Philly a few years ago. He's been at Houston more recently, and now he's gone to Nashville, where I really think he's going to have the opportunity to shine. Nashville's known for their defensive setup. They've never really been known for their attack. And while I don't think it's like a blockbuster move, I think Picault could definitely bring a nice flair to their attack. And I think he's going to be pretty heavily involved. He's gotten some pretty good feedback from Gary Smith, their coach in the preseason, saying that he feels like he's going to be a big part of their team this season. So yeah, I'm on board. I just picked up a super rare, not his forward card. I got his midfielder card, which I'm actively trying to turn that into a super rare. I've been putting out some offers, just adding in a little bit of ETH to flip the midfield card into a forward card, which that one at the top that you're just seeing, I was actually on Discord right before the show talking to the guy, Vaughn, that sold it, and making an offer, trying to get it, but he ended up taking another deal.
Oof.
That was the forward card. And I was bummed to see that one go, but so I'm invested
So
in
what?
Pico. I think he's
So
what's up?
yeah, Vaughn dropped two forwards and a key defender. Man, Vaughn with a big sale this morning. Shout out to you, Vaughn, too, with your
Yeah, did you?
Hypnotoad. Love the Hypnotoad avatar. That's incredible. Go Frogs for sure. And I hope that you do well with the 0.62 ETH that you made off selling these forwards. Here's the one you got.
Yeah,
Your
are you
Fafa
looking at
super
the
rare.
screen there? Because I can't. It's frozen on my end. Are you?
Oh, gotcha. My bad. Yeah, I wow, amateur move. I did not switch the screen to the actual trades I was talking about. Sorry about that.
I saw
Here's
the
Vaughn. Yeah,
list
yeah,
of.
yeah. Here's Vaughn's trade. Sorry. Okay, he's got the Hypnotoad avatar. Sorry that I mentioned earlier. I'm not crazy for mentioning that. Vaughn, you made 0.62 ETH on selling Rubio, Pico, and Yamar. That's a big sale.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for all the listeners out there, and I believe Vaughn said that he is exiting Sorare, exiting the platform, so he's trying to sell everything for ETH, which kind of put me at a disadvantage just trying to swap a midfielder for a forward card and add in a little bit of ETH.
Oh yeah,
But
you were
I
never
totally
getting that
get
deal.
why. Yeah, I totally get why he went the other direction there. I said when he told me about it, I said that was a great sale. So. But
Nice.
yeah, obviously, I like the forward card a little bit more than the midfielder card. I'm not mad about holding the midfield Pico.
Yep.
Because I do
Here's
think
your
he'll do
deal.
well.
I'll say this: if you look, the pick mostly, I like the full body cards over the floating head cards, the big head cards. But on this one, you got to give the edge to the big head card on the Fafa Pico. I mean, he looks like that's a hard card. He looks like really rough and tough right there. And then you go
Right,
here,
and it's a forward.
Here he just looks more like a broken man. You know, he's like, oh man, I've been in Houston way too long. This team sucks. So.
Right.
But yeah, this was a good deal.
The forward card is
for
the forward card's worth a big head for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But even though it's the midfield card, you know, for 0.15 ETH to get a super player who you think is definitely locked into the lineup, who's going to have some upgraded value, it is tough to call him under your number one under the radar for when you picked up the midfielder card. But it is a reminder to people that check the positions on the card. I'm sure you knew what you were doing. You were just trying to get the card in a form. But now I like your idea of trying to flip it for the forward card. Who do you want to reveal who your next? Have you scouted out the forward, the Fafa forward card lay of the land to try to find out who you can poach one from or make a trade with? I guess I should say.
Yeah, I've looked around. I've actually put a couple of offers out there. I hate going in and putting offers on cards that aren't listed, but it's kind
worked
of all
for me
part
before.
of
It has worked for me before, but yeah, it does feel a little weird, but. Yeah,
but
it looks like there's 8 forward cards available, and there's only 4 of the midfield. So your selling point needs to be that your card, the midfield, is actually more rare. You'd be like, it's actually a scarcer card in the midfield, and try to sell the 8 versus 4 discrepancy. What do you think?
Yeah, and two, just for the record, I do have a rare Pico in the forward card, and I've got a limited Pico in the forward card. So
I love it.
I'm not just I'm not just throwing him out there as a forward and saying go pick up his midfield cards.
My bad. Didn't mean to call you out. Didn't mean to call you out. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
and I don't mind the midfield card, especially in super rare where I can throw him in as a utility spot. And I think that he could be a good one too for the cap competitions. So don't mind the midfield card there, but I like what I think Pico could bring to Nashville's attack.
Yeah, we didn't check, since he's the number one, we didn't check the scores, which I like to always do when we're talking about prospective buys and recommendations and things like that. And you can see the scores. There's some peaks and valleys with Pico. His AA is pretty low over the last year, but is that playing time related? Is that role related? Is that just Houston related? He did seem to get in on the decisives from time to time.
Yeah, his AAs aren't beautiful, but I think with Nashville it'll be more decisive related, like I referred to, just their attack in general. You've got CJ Sapong as your starting number 9. Obviously, Hani Mukhtar is there driving the attack, but they need some more. They need a little bit more spice. They've got I think they've got Randall Leal in there too, is one that I like. But I feel like Pico definitely, I feel like he definitely brings that added bump that Nashville's attack needs. And
Yeah,
just with a lack of options, and I feel like the decisives are going to be there for him.
he's a savvy veteran. He's a savvy veteran, and if the price is nice, you're looking at under 0.05 for a rare. You're looking at $5 for a limited. Fafa's not bad for a number one. Let's get to your number two and give us a big reveal here.
Yeah, number two is another veteran. I've got Kevin Molino. Picked up one of his super rare forward cards recently. I believe I've got one of his rare cards. Not a sexy pick, I know, just with his injury history, but feel like he's going to have just kind of like along the same lines with Pico, like he's going to have some opportunities in that Columbus attack. They've got several good pieces between Zelarayan and Cucho Hernandez, who are they're big dogs, they're big guns that everybody's going to flock to. I think a guy like Molino could be a sneaky forward card, just with the lack of forward cards in general as far as MLS goes. And I just his price was right for me, and the opportunity not necessarily nailed on as a starter, but I feel like there's not too many options, especially on that left wing for Columbus, that I think Molino could take that starting job from day one.
Here's what I know. I am not a Columbus Crew fan. I'm not really a Kevin Molino fan. I didn't really like him when he was in Minnesota. He's always getting hurt for me, and that would be my big reservation. But I mean, you do look at the price, and it's super cheap. He's a forward. There are how many there's offers out there and rare that you plenty of negotiation. You can go grab a super rare. These prices, I wouldn't pay any of these prices for a super rare, but I also know that as much as I don't really like Columbus, they are good and they're going to be better. They were solid last year and they're going to be even better this year. I think they upgraded almost everywhere, like in terms of getting a better coach, getting a full year of Chicho Hernandez is going to be huge for them. Cucho Hernandez, excuse me. Sorry, I mixed up my nicknames. And Zelarayan, it stays in his MVP form and has sort of settled into his whole new contract, a new role and everything. And Aiden Morris comes back, and it's all trending well for Columbus in my book.
Yeah, and I think I got that super rare for, I want to say 1.150, which for a forward super rare card,
right?
Okay, 0.160.
You inspired, but yeah, by showing faith in Molino 9 days ago, you inspired all these people to try to get an even a bigger fish sale. But I like your 0.160. It's cheaper than the previous sale, and it's not bad.
Yeah, for a forward card, I was struggling bringing in super rare forwards to bolster my attack with, and so he was in that price range where I said I can take a shot at 0.160 and feel like it's going to pay off, especially if he's starting day one. Then I'm fine with that.
It's pretty funny that with Fafa, the 2020 was the forward and the 2022 was the midfielder. Here it's reversed. Molino's newer cards, his 2022s are forwards. Older cards are midfielders, so just be careful of that when you're buying, in rare. That means so that should mean in limited he only has forward cards, right? Like I
think so. Yeah.
So his limiteds, I believe, it looks like are all forwards. But if you're buying a rare, just make sure you get the right one. If you're buying a super rare, obviously you're probably paying attention regardless. But yeah, I mean, look, price maybe trending up, down a little bit. You can see there's a lot of movement on him lately. Do you have the rare or?
I think I've got a rare midfield card that I grabbed a long time ago. I might go in and just pick up a forward card just to have it on hand because he is so cheap right now.
I guess see if you can get these people to go down closer to like 0.019, I think is where I'd want to be buying him if I could. So.
Yes, you saw there somebody just bought one for what, 0.017-ish?
Yeah, 0.017, so yeah.
I can get one for maybe 0.02 and under. I'd
overnight,
be happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't hate Molino. I just think, I wouldn't put him maybe as number 2 on the list, but it's your list. So let's go to number 3. What do you think?
Number 3, I felt like I don't know if he can qualify as under the radar forward. That's kind of why I put him down to number 3, just try to slot him in. But I've got Romel Kyoto on my list because I feel like he is a little underpriced right now heading into the season for his potential role in Montreal, which doesn't look pretty. Their team in general does not look pretty heading into the season. They unloaded a lot of players. I think we hit on this on the last episode, but with Georgi Mihalovic gone, I think Jairo Torres is in Philly now. So I feel like Kyoto is going to be on majority of set pieces, possibly, and penalty kicks for one to 1.125 range for a
Yeah.
rare forward. Then I feel
The
like
Sorare
that's
data value is 120. The offers are right in that same range, like 0.12, 0.13. Again, these are all midfielder. These older cards are all midfielders, so make sure you get the newer ones where he's he's got his limited should be forwards, right? Let's check. Yeah, his limited cards are forwards. His 2021s are forwards. So if you go 2020, he's a midfielder. But if you go 21 or 22, then you get the forwards. So make sure you pay attention to that. But yeah, cheap, very cheap. You know what? We're talking. We're in the under $10 range at the limited. Maybe I don't know 0.1. I feel like in this market probably that is probably a fair price. I don't think it's a bad price, but you want to make sure you get the forward here. The cheapest one that you can find on offer that's a forward is 0.13, and then the even newer, the 0.15. So do some negotiating. Just make sure that like you know more about what you're trying to buy than the person who's selling it, and then you'll be good, right?
Yeah, and I don't even have a Kyoto myself right now, but I want to try to find one if I can in that 0.1 range. Going to be pretty tough, but I feel like saying that he's an under the radar forward, people might be more willing to let him go. I mean, I just feel like people right now aren't high on Kyoto, aren't high on Montreal in general,
Right.
and so it
Find
just seems
someone
like
who's selling out of the platform or has a really small collection. This is one of those ones where if I wanted to buy this card, I'd be like checking the collections of the sellers to see like what I could gauge about what might be their motivations and things like that for sure.
Yeah, and again, Kyoto is not like an unknown in the league.
Right.
He's not a Fafa Pico or Kevin Molino, like somebody that people that haven't really followed MLS might not know of those guys. Most people know of Kyoto. I think he was actually pretty high on the Sorare radar last season, maybe 2 seasons ago. And
most definitely. He always produces. Kyoto always produces. The problem is that he's older and Montreal sucks. But with everybody gone from the team, somebody has to do something, right? So it's like there should be some production there.
Yep. So I don't know what else to say about Kyoto other than you kind of said it right there. He's getting older and Montreal sucks. So
that's why he's under the radar.
There.
That's what puts him under the radar because his skill, his talent, and his ability to like rack up fantasy stats is undeniable.
Yeah, for a guy that's potentially on set pieces and penalty kicks, I feel like his price is a little too low right now, so I'm willing to take a shot with him.
Well, I look forward to your Kyoto buying exploits. I want to hear all about them, but if we just do a quick score check profile, and I'm going to go to all for him because I think that might really show us like there's peaks and valleys, based on playing time, and he has had times where he likes split sets, and so his production went down. Then he would go back to like monopoly sets and stuff like that. But it's more green than orange as far as I can see, and his AA is low, but he's all like if you look, his decisive averages are always like above 40, 45 range. So it's like he just finds a way to get on goals. What can I say? And with PKs, like you said, like I mean, look, he gets double decisives a lot of yellow cards also. So I don't know what you're getting into with Kyoto, but I don't hate him on your list. I probably won't be going to get him, but I do look forward to your chance to purchase him. Now, number 4, I almost messed with you on this one because when we went through this list before the show, I was like, that's a little vague, but I want you to explain it. Tell me the secret of your number 4 selection here.
Yeah, number 4, I'm saying let's keep an eye on the Vancouver Whitecaps attack in general and just see how it plays out because currently I think Brian White is the projected number 9, but they just made a move to bring in Sergio Cordova from RSL, who we saw some good flashes from last season. And I'm a lot
of RSL fans were not happy to see Sergio go, right?
Yeah, he's talented. You can tell just from a little bit that we've seen that he's going to be a stud. And I feel like in Vancouver with Ryan Gauld and some of the other pieces around, I think somebody's going to have some opportunities up top. If it's Cordova right off the bat, if Brian White starts out, then where his price is right now, I'm fine with. And then even we saw yesterday in spring some of the spring friendlies, then Christian Dahome had a brace. He scored 2 goals, one of them coming from the spot, a penalty kick. And so could this be Dahome's breakout season? Like we've seen flashes from him at times, just been inconsistent. So I think there's some value to be had in Vancouver. Whether it's Sergio Cordova, Brian White, or Dahome, it's kind of like pick your poison. I'm not 100% all in on either one of them, but I just want to kind of see how that situation plays out there. And I believe all of them are coming in checking at a pretty good price right now.
Yeah, Cordova on the news of his move is up at around the same price as Kyoto. Obviously, he's the 25-year-old version of Kyoto. Probably, maybe not, but maybe. We'll see. It is a TBD, as we said, but a lot of action on him in the past week as this transfer rumor heated up, and you could see like 2 weeks ago he was at 0.08, now he's at like 0.12. So people are kind of clued in on Cordova. Let's compare that to Brian White, and I won a Brian White limited long time ago, and I've just always had it because I don't want to sell it for $5, I guess. But it's crazy how White looks like so much cheaper than Cordova. Why do you think that is?
Probably just a lot of the just news that they're searching for a number 9, and his role is not 100% locked in. But he's a guy too. He's super goal dependent, but we've seen some flashes of him where he turn up with a hat trick out of nowhere and be a game changer. And I feel like if he gets consistent playing time, then he's the kind of guy that's gonna score some goals and gonna come through with some prize winning performances. So he's a guy
Early matchups look good as far as, all in the 50s from the Sorare data score. He's got midweek utility in the CONCACAF Champions League. That's a good reason. Just like you almost forget that Vancouver's in the CCL because it's like you wouldn't expect them because they got there via the Canadian Cup. They didn't really have a good MLS season, so it's like
I don't know if that game's going to be covered, but
against Real España, I'm not sure. I mean, it's listed here on Sorare data. I don't. I know. Some of the games are covered, nice. Some aren't in the CCL, and it seems to change from year to year. So, but yeah, I can't. Brian White's tough. I think you're hoping at this point. If I'm in on this TBD, I'm going to hope that it turns out to be Cordova. What's Dahome going for these days? I know we've had our trials and travails with friends and our little Sorare family of Dahome, and
I think he got a boost yesterday from his preseason performance. Yeah, I think he jumped overnight just based on his 2-goal showing yesterday, which is kind of funny that preseason has that effect. But
yeah, I mean, he's super cheap, to be honest. I mean, if you're looking at, but his price did double in the last 24 hours. So, and now people are trying to pawn him off at almost near 0.1 when he was 0.03, literally less than 24 hours ago. So that's pretty funny. Probably the first, what that tells me, I would guess that 0.036 is probably what was someone who was watching the game. As soon as they saw him get the second penalty in the friendly, like I'm buying real quick. So
yeah, that's the friendly effect. Like we're gonna hit on a little bit, but
exactly.
Funny
we'll get into that, and let's just reveal your 5th one real quick because this is a wild card. This is an absolute wild card, and maybe I don't know if you know anything from him about friendlies, but give us number 5 because you blew my mind with this one.
Yeah, I wanted to throw kind of a super sleeper out there, so I'm going to go with Machop Chol from Atlanta United. He's a guy that's been getting some minutes in preseason. I know they just brought in a new number 9 up top with Josef Martinez going to Miami. I can't pronounce the guy's name. Maybe you can help me out. I think they brought a guy in from Scottish Premier League.
I think it's Georgios Giacomos, I believe. Yeah, okay. That's how I would pronounce that. Georgios Giacomos, yeah.
We'll roll with that. Yeah. And so maybe Chol's been getting a little bit more run out in preseason, just not having a nailed-on number 9. And I wouldn't even consider Chol like an out-and-out number 9. I've seen him play on the wing before. But he's been getting some minutes. He's scoring goals. I think he scored a preseason goal. I don't know if he's added anything else to that. But just the fact that he's the first guy in the lineup without any of those other guys and has kind of caught my interest to say, is this guy going to start getting regular minutes? More consistent time to make those contributions. What I've seen of him, I like, and I'd love to see him get more minutes. And for the price right now in Sorare, I'm willing to maybe throw one or two cards into my deck and just say, let's see what happens with them.
What's Chol trading at these days? I know at one point he played a little bit last year, right? Like early in the season when Joseph was one of his many injuries was being suffered, and like he was semi-productive for a minute, and then he kind of fell off, if I remember right. Is that what you remember?
Yeah, and I think he got hurt too, so he was dealing with some injuries last season.
Still he's under 23 for the first few months of the season, so that's worth noting. Very cheap at 0.02. I think if we went way back in his price history, we would see him selling for a lot more. Let's check the price graph on that, because I think at one point he was kind of a mini hot commodity, I would say. Maybe not a super hot commodity, but there he is, up at 0.05 even before. Maybe I'm misremembering that a little bit, but he did have a few games where he got in. What's his game? Like you think he's more of a striker or more of a mid? Or more of a winger?
Yeah, probably more of a winger. So the decisives probably, or the AAs probably aren't pretty. This is going to be more of a guy.
Thinking back to so this I think is like the 186. This is back in.
And last year, I think it was his rookie season, or 2 years ago.
I'm thinking, when I saw him playing and get a few things in, that's back when I was probably playing him on DraftKings back then. So yeah. Joe, I don't know. Yeah, he's very under the radar, but like you like what you're seeing. What's he been doing in the friendlies? Let's the other thing we want to sort of talk about was just like friendlies and what friendlies, what are they good for? What can we learn from them? And like Joe, did he catch your eye because of what he's doing in preseason?
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of these MLS preseason friendlies have been behind closed doors, and so a lot of the takeaways you're having to base on Twitter reports from beat writers, or a few shoddy highlights that you can scrape off of Twitter. So I haven't necessarily been watching Chol, other than just seeing that he's been consistently starting for Atlanta United in these preseason friendlies. And so that's where it catches my interest to say, well, let's go see what his price is on Sorare and see if we can get some value out of somebody before they do potentially start to catch fire and pick up some steam. And so that's how I guess monitor the situation on a lot of these guys, is really just trying to analyze some of these preseason lineups, see if something's consistently happening as far as the lineups go.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's a recent tweet about him from the other day. Even if you couldn't see the game, you might have noticed Chol played striker on Saturday. That experiment happened, and Chop feels like he could be effective in the position. And then I don't need to read all of Pineda's comments or whatever. But then there was a counterpoint to that. So then I looked and I found another tweet and said, Maychop Chol is a nice kid that everyone in the roster seems to love as a person, but they really need Georgios Giacomo ready to go by the opener. So there's your two preseason takes on Maychop Chol. But I don't know. He's under the radar for now. And hey, these don't all have to hit, but at least do your own research, all that. But I'm proud of you for taking the time to put a list together at the very least. So
forwards in MLS are tough. Yeah, it's tough to find value. Tough to find value. So even like a guy like Maychop Chol, I'm like, if this guy is gonna get minutes, if he's 0.01 to
0.02,
to 0.02,
that's rare. Yeah. You can probably get his limited for $2.
Oh yeah, and so for a guy like that, maybe worth just sticking in your lineup or in your deck and see what happens.
I love it. And DraftKicks told you first, exactly. And just remember where you got the tip. If he busts, then forget this ever happened. But so what other friendly stuff has caught your eye? And what do you really think we can learn from friendlies, like just philosophically as we wrap this episode up?
Yeah, again, just going back to teams being just so kind of secretive about what they're doing, not really putting any kind of streams out there preseason. So really a lot of what I'm gathering is just looking at lineups from game to game and seeing if certain guys stick, if teams are playing a guy kind of like in a trialist type of role for a game and then you don't see him again for 2 games, like is that guy just out of the equation now? And so I kind of just try to do what I can as far, and if you followed the league and you know who some of the good beat writers are, then you know that there's going to be some good nuggets of
Mm-hmm.
information from certain beat writers. And so if I know a team has a friendly, then I'm going in and I'm seeing what those guys have to say about them, because a lot of them are actually at the game. While they can't be filming, they're actually analyzing the game. Oh, Rusnak just took a corner or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then little bits of information like that I try to tuck away and say, okay, this guy's been taking some set pieces in preseason. Could that carry over to regular season? And so you take preseason with a grain of salt, but there is a little bit of info that I think you can pick up along the way.
I love it. Well, let's talk real quick before we get out of here. Let's answer a couple of viewer questions, because we've been really grateful to all the people who've been encouraging and leave comments on the YouTube videos. That's huge. That keeps the conversation going and gives us a chance to like talk to y'all. And what's really encouraging to me is like the messages that have been like, man, finally, like it's great to listen to people that can like nerd out on MLS as much as I do. You know, like MLS is a league for hardcores, and I love the idea that like we just go hardcore on this show, and we don't, we're not necessarily like, if you don't know some of the crazy things about MLS, it might seem a little bit impenetrable, but hopefully with more listens, you start to learn just like what makes MLS such a special league for sure. I got a question here from Terry Harrison on one of our recent episodes, said, enjoying watching an MLS content show. Have you heard anything on Joao Paulo's recovery from injury? Thanks. What do you know? Do you know anything about JP and how he could have affect Seattle this year?
I think he's back. I think his recovery was ahead of schedule. I think he even started training last season. He didn't make an appearance after his injury, but he started rehabbing. Rehab went really well, and I think he's fully recovered heading into the season. We did get to see Seattle play in the CONCACAF, or not CONCACAF, FIFA Club
Yeah.
World Cup this
Yeah.
last week. Unfortunately, they bowed out, which,
Tough
hey,
loss.
they're in preseason right now, going up against a team that is pretty much in the middle of their season. So
We always that's what everybody always that's what everybody always
yes,
says whenever an MLS
yes,
team loses. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where MLS is at a disadvantage on the global stage, but they
For
put in
sure.
a valiant effort. Paulo did not start the game. He came off the bench for, I think, 30 minutes. And that tells me that they're definitely going to ease him into the mix. But hey, he's such a AA beast that,
Mm-hmm.
watch it, just kind of see how he comes along. But it feels like he's starting to get geared up to be the player that we saw a couple of seasons ago that was racking out those AAs. And I think his price is starting to turn in that direction too. I think people are starting to
Oh yeah.
catch the wave that he's back, and
Well, if you
he's
look his Sorare career, his AA average is over 20. I mean, he's just an absolute beast. I mean, you look at all this, and he routinely turns in hundreds back when he was in his prime before he had that really rough injury last year. The one thing about Joao Paulo is his price. It even despite this is how you know someone's an absolute stud for this game, is that his price really didn't really come down. I mean, you look at the huge, there's a huge dip right when he gets injured, obviously, but even almost immediately starts creeping back up and back up. And he was like the sleeper that everyone knew about. It's like, I got to find myself a way to get a cheap Joao Paulo, while he's still hurt before he comes back. But just like, it never really happened unless you were willing to like take the plunge right when he got injured and make the purchase at that point. So I
yeah.
expect to be back in a big way.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if he is fit to start opening day. Like, this was what, three weeks before the season. He makes an appearance off the bench, puts in a 30-minute shift. Maybe he's fully fit to go 60 from the start on opening day. And so I think that he's definitely headed in the right direction. And I would not shy away from picking him up right now if you want to make that move.
Yeah, it's still not cheap, but definitely worth. He should pay off. So one more question before we fully get out of here. Bald Sherlock sends us, do you have breakout players for the coming season? And I'm going to keep it in Seattle for mine real quick. I think my breakout player, it's kind of a weird one, but it's going to be Albert Rusnak. And Rusnak is a guy, it's hard to consider him a breakout player because we all know how good he can be, but he really took a huge dip last year when Joao Paulo got hurt, incidentally. So and when he went to Seattle, like when he was with RSL, like you could always count on him for like dominance. He had such a great 2021 season in SO5 and was like just like everybody wanted him. And then with the move to Seattle, it was like it kind of just like subdued him and just like tamped down his production and what he could do because of the presence of Lodero and the fact that that's Lodero's team. And even you mentioned the FIFA Club World Cup game the other day. Rusnak took the first corner kick of the game for Seattle, and then after that, Lodero came over and made sure like he took all of them. Like it was just kind of funny. Like Lodi just like refuses to give up his role, and that sucks. But I'm here to tell you that the as much as I love Nico Lodero, like I'm a huge fan of him as a major MLS fan. I've been a big fan of his for years. He's one of my favorite players, star of many of my FIFA Ultimate Team combos over the years before I discovered Sorare. And I love Lodero, but the time of Lodero is rapidly coming to an end. I'm here to tell you, the guy, I know you're a Nico lover, but I'm a Rusnak guy. So I think Rusnak's going to be the breakout, and he's going to get back to some of his high scoring ways that he had back in his RSL days. And I think he's going to be I mean, you look at these are the numbers from his RSL era, high greens, deep greens, 90s, 100s. Then he gets to Seattle, he starts peaking in the 70s. I think we're getting back to those 80s, 90s, 100s for Albert Rusnak this year.
I like it. And I hope maybe with the return of Joao Paulo, that's going to help him.
Right. That's when Paulo got hurt. That's when Rusnak's numbers really went down, because then he had to come back and play like the 6 role almost that Paulo was trying to play, and he's not that type of player.
Yeah, and even when they were playing together, then Rusnak wasn't really a huge spark going forward for Seattle. But I feel like that was maybe a little bit of just kind of getting acclimated to a new club, getting acclimated to new teammates, and so maybe now, once they start to get a little bit more consistency with their lineup going, I feel like maybe that'll help Rusnak's attacking numbers start to get back up there. So I like it.
Oh yeah, who's your breakout?
And I think I might have hit on this a couple of shows ago, but I feel like Cade Cowell is in the perfect spot for a breakout. He's not a guy that's going to get you a ton of AAs, but I feel like his game is just so dynamic going forward. He's not afraid to run at people. Probably one of the fastest guys in the league, if not the fastest. And we even saw some of those flashes in the national team game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the stage is set if he can start to get consistent starts. And I think we're going to start to see his name turn up a lot on the score sheet.
Right. And I mean, he's got the matchups are nice for that early part of the season. We did an episode talking about how San Jose has a chance for a hot start. I still don't think San Jose is that great, but they do have a chance for a hot start. If they're going to be banging more decisives, I do think Cowell has a chance to be on the end of those, or even on the creating those. So, yeah, I mean, the problem with him is his price has just never really come down, because everyone's believed in that potential for so long, right? I mean, people are trying to sell him for 0.2 right now, when I think that's a little unproven. But I just, I think if you can get him down more closer to like the 0.15 range, it'd be great. But that hasn't really been happening for months. People just believe in Cowell, and people are willing to pay for Cowell. So at the very least, it could be an investment. You could buy him and then flip him, just based on this endless hype and potential that seems to never go away around Cade. So
if you look back at that list and you see my name up there, and I believe it was a listener of the show, Glenn Hoddle, had
really
bought it off of me, and I was reluctant to sell it. I definitely needed a little ETH boost, so sold the cow to him, and I was happy that we were able to pass it on to a listener of the show. So Glenn, thank you for listening. I hope Cal crushes it for you this season, and thank you for the little ETH boost there. That was much needed.
Fantastic. Glenn Hoddle, I love it. Shout out to one of the great English footballers of all time in some people's minds as well. So awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for everybody that's listening. Keep sending feedback. We'll keep answering questions. We'll keep trying to find you good players to buy. And we're really looking forward to, as we get closer to the season, getting really specific and hyper into the weekend matchups and things that are happening. We're hopefully planning to have a special guest next week, so look forward to that. Schuyler, anything more you want to say?
Yeah, as we get closer to the season, we'll dive into some of our own lineup building and do a little bit more of that, and just really looking forward to the game starting. Like I said, let's kick it off. I'm ready.